Listen, what I am about to reveal tonight was never meant to be spoken. These are secrets I carried out of the darkness, when the kingdom of darkness still had my name written in its records. If you have ever felt the atmosphere shift when certain people enter a room, you are not imagining it. Those shifts are signs. They are trademarks. They are the invisible marks of hidden witchcraft that no spiritual leader ever warns you about. And once you learn to recognize them, you will never look at the unseen world the same way again. I remember the first time I was taught the greatest secret inside the kingdom of darkness, a secret every operating witch understands, but that the community of faith almost never discusses. Witches are identified long before they are ever revealed, not by what they wear, not by their rituals, not by the words they choose, but by the mark they carry in the spirit realm. When I was drawn into witchcraft, I did not enter through candles or ceremonial chants. I entered through brokenness. Because witches understand something that most people never recognize. The easiest vessels to work through are those living in invisible pain, the ones who have been wounded, rejected, and abandoned. The kingdom of darkness does not recruit people, it hunts fractures. The first trademark of a hidden witch is spiritual trauma disguised as spiritual depth. They appear profound, intense, and mysterious, almost wise beyond their years. They speak in layered language. They carry themselves as though they perceive things that ordinary people cannot access. But behind that apparent gift is almost always a childhood wound that cracked a door open, a door they never went back to close. I remember exactly how they trained me inside the coven. Hide the wound, display the power. People are drawn to mystery like moths to flame. And that is how witches are recognized by those who know what to look for, by their compulsive need to control the atmosphere through spiritual intimidation. They do not simply walk into a room, they shift it. They do not greet you, they scan you. Every witch carries this first mark, a spiritual identity constructed on pain rather than purpose. But here is the unsettling truth. Most believers cannot discern it because they have been conditioned to confuse emotional intensity with genuine spiritual authority. The first trademark is always subtle, but once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. And if this first mark already has your attention, you are not yet prepared for the second, because the second trademark reveals precisely how they conceal themselves inside houses of worship. When I finally left witchcraft, one discovery shook me more deeply than anything else I had encountered on either side. Witches do not hide from spiritual communities. They hide inside them. I will never forget the night my mentor looked at me and said, "Your power is wasted in darkness. Influence lives where the light is." It was in that moment I understood why witches infiltrate spiritual environments, not to worship, not to seek, but to monitor, to manipulate, and to mark the souls that shine with the brightest light. In every house of worship I entered, I could immediately sense who was spiritually depleted, who was carrying wounds, and who was genuinely called and gifted. Witches do not come to destroy everyone in the room, only those carrying destiny. The second trademark is this: a hidden witch demonstrates an unusual and disproportionate interest in spiritually gifted people, not to encourage or support them, but to drain them, distract them, and derail them before they can walk fully into what they were created for. I used to position myself near those with clear spiritual calling. I would smile at them, compliment them, even pray alongside them. But behind every smile was a spiritual assignment: to deposit seeds of doubt, fear, and confusion into their spirit until the fire inside them began to dim. But here is where everything changed for me. It was not a minister, it was not a powerful sermon, it was not a deliverance session. It was the day the sacred presence confronted me with a voice so gentle it dismantled everything. The voice said, "You are hiding inside my house, but my light is hiding inside you." That voice shattered the framework of everything witchcraft had built in me. It exposed the lie I had been living. It revealed that while witches can wear extraordinary disguises, the Eternal sees the soul behind every mask. And when the nature of the third trademark was revealed to me, I felt genuine fear for the first time. The enemy has always understood that the fastest pathway into a believer's life is not through aggression. It is through sympathy, not sympathy extended toward them, but sympathy they extend toward you. When I was actively practicing witchcraft, the most devastating weapon available to me was not any ritual or ceremony or act of spiritual projection. It was emotional connection. When a witch understands you more completely than anyone in your life has, when a witch listens to you in the silence when everyone else has walked away, when a witch offers comfort in a way that feels almost supernaturally precise, that is the moment to be most alert. This is where an ancient spiritual principle makes itself visible in lived experience. The adversary presents himself as a carrier of light, meaning the genuine danger is never what looks obviously dark. The danger is what looks divinely comforting. Witches study human emotion the way anointed ministers study sacred writings. They read facial expressions with precision. They analyze behavioral patterns. They mirror your own pain back to you until you feel a bond forming that you cannot fully explain. But the bond itself is the trap. They make you feel seen so they can make you feel dependent. They make you feel safe so they can make you vulnerable. They make you trust them so they can begin to shape your decisions from the inside. This is where spiritual warfare becomes deeply personal, because the adversary never targets your strength first. He targets your season of longing, but there is always a moment when the sacred presence exposes the counterfeit light. Always a moment when genuine discernment rises above the noise. Always a moment when heaven speaks with greater clarity than any deceptive voice. And that moment leads directly into the fourth trademark, the one every believer must understand in order to survive what is coming. Let me tell you something unfiltered, something real, something that is almost never addressed. Witchcraft does not require your permission to observe you, only to touch you. And observation is the fourth mark. Every witch learns this principle early in their training. Never attack what you have not first studied thoroughly. So witches watch. They listen with unusual patience. They measure your reactions to pressure. They study the architecture of your spiritual life and wait for the day your guard lowers even momentarily. This is the enemy's fundamental strategy. Learn the rhythm of your spiritual disciplines until you can identify the precise point where the pattern breaks. If you maintain midnight intercession, they study what disrupts your consistency. If your strength is rooted in the sacred writings, they study what pulls your focus away. If you carry a clear divine calling, they study what erodes your boldness. Witches do not ultimately destroy believers. Believers contribute to their own vulnerability by ignoring the spiritual warning signs that are placed before them. And the enemy understands this better than most. Observation progresses to infiltration. Infiltration progresses to influence. Influence progresses to spiritual sabotage from the inside. But the real danger is not what witches choose to observe. The real danger is what believers choose to ignore. This is the fourth mark. A hidden witch always watches for an extended season before they ever move to strike. And if that truth unsettles you, wait until you encounter the final trademark. Because the fifth one is not primarily about witches at all. It is about you. When I escaped from witchcraft, I discovered something that no one inside the coven had ever been honest enough to tell me. All the rituals, all the ceremonial objects, all the chanting, all the spiritual force that witches claim as their own. It collapses instantaneously in the presence of someone who carries genuine kingdom authority. This is the reason witches fear certain believers, not because they pray with the greatest volume, but because they pray with purity. Not because they recite sacred texts from memory, but because they carry genuine conviction in what those words mean. Not because they maintain perfect church attendance, but because the Eternal genuinely recognizes their voice when they speak. This is the fifth and final mark. A hidden witch will always feel profoundly uncomfortable in the presence of someone walking in authentic anointing. I remember the first believer whose presence caused something in my spirit to recoil. She did not raise her voice. She did not engage me in argument. She did not perform a formal rebuke. She simply carried the presence of the divine with her everywhere she went. And every dark thing residing in me recognized the light that lived in her. That encounter changed everything I understood about power. Witchcraft is not dismantled by fear, not by suspicion, not by confrontation. It is dismantled by authority that has been forged through genuine intimacy with the Eternal. And that is when my own liberation came, not through force, but through surrender. Because when authentic light enters a space, darkness does not negotiate terms. It simply leaves And now the full revelation becomes clear. Every hidden witch operating in concealment is ultimately exposed by one thing alone: believers who walk consistently in power, in purity, and in discernment. This truth carries the final message that everything in this testimony has been building toward. If you are hearing this right now, it is not by coincidence. The Eternal is awakening your discernment. He is sharpening your spirit. He is drawing you into a deeper dimension of authority than you have walked in before. You are not a victim in this battle. You are a weapon, heaven forged and heaven assigned for this precise hour. Stand firm in that identity. Pray with boldness. Walk in the light that no darkness in any realm can successfully imitate, because once your spirit is fully awake, every hidden work of the enemy operating anywhere near your life will be exposed without exception. And the forces of darkness will never prevail against a believer who knows exactly who they are and exactly whose authority they carry.